What's up, everybody? This is Devin White, linebacker for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You're listening to the LCC Network. Go Bucks.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Commissioner's Clubhouse and the LCC Network for Week 11 of the 2021 season. And it's just me, myself, and I this evening, actually. We already recorded this once. Had some technical difficulties, I believe, from my end, honestly. Lost connection with Jordan and Mafali both. So thanks to them for doing that first round with me. I hate that we weren't able to get all the way through. We got, honestly, probably like halfway through the whole thing, and it just crashed on us. I don't have an explanation for it, but long story short, here we are. This is the situation we're in. This is going to be a much shorter podcast, at least in theory, compared to all the others, because it's just myself. There's no one else here to analyze anything. That means the breakdowns of the games are going to be shorter. You're just going to hear my perspective, so, like it or not, that's what we got for this evening. And for those that don't know, I'm actually traveling out of the country tomorrow morning, flying to South America, Ecuador to be exact. And I'm going to be there about 10 days. So there's a decent chance I will probably not be able to record next week. So I'll probably just be on Jordan and Mafali to do it. So if anyone's interested in helping them out, definitely feel free to contact Jordan about that. But here we go. Let's get into Week 11. We got some playoff scenarios to break down for you guys. That's right. Jim Mora, lead us off.
What's that? Playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs. You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game. What's that?
Oh, yeah. Jim Mora summed it up perfectly. For some teams, at least in the LCC Conference A, there's a couple teams that are eliminated. I'll get to that in a minute, though. First off, I want to congratulate BP on tying for the third most high point weeks in a season. What that means, a high point week, is a team who outscores the rest of the league in any given week in a season. He's done it 3 times this year, which is tied for the third most in a single season. If he does it one more time this year, that's going to put him tied for second. And the league record is 5, which I currently hold back in 2013. That's going to be a tough record for anyone to break just because the league was a lot smaller then. So it's a little bit easier to get a high point week in the LCC back then when they were like, I want to say 2013. That would have been either the last year we were at a 12-team league or the first year we expanded to 16. So, night and day different. We didn't even have IDP yet, so yeah, very, very different. Also, want to congratulate Cody on winning the mini helmet giveaway. Shout out to him. He was the only team to pick Colby to be the highest scoring team last week, and I don't remember the score he picked, honestly, but I don't think it was super far off. Like Cody had him breaking over 200. He definitely did that. He had like 260 something. And again, I'm recording this the late Wednesday night, so stat changes haven't been made official yet, so we don't know exactly what the final score will be, but safe to say it's definitely Colby. So package has been shipped on its way to Spartanburg, South Carolina, to the ever so excited Cody, who is waiting on that package. So congrats again to him on winning the Panthers signed helmet giveaway. That's pretty big stuff. So let's get into what we're all waiting here for. The playoff scenarios. Playoffs, that's right. We're talking about playoffs. Conference A, the third leg, currently is leading the conference as the number 1 seed. The number 2 seed. Oh, you know what? Before I even get any further than that, because he currently has the number 1 seed, we're going to just go ahead and crown him.
If you want to crown him, then crown her.
Yep.
You want to crown him, then crown her.
Oh, yeah. There we go. Looping on me. Yeah, no, big season for Charles. I feel like we say it every single week, but it's true, honestly. He's dominating week in and week out. He's 9-1. I mean, that's a great record. I myself currently have that same record, but we will see, barring a stat change. I'm pretty sure that's going to change. Beg for G-Reg, anyways, has a 2 seed at 8-2. Hash Slinging Slashers at 7-3. Oh man, I almost forgot his sound drop. Slow-mo Hash Slinging Slasher sound drop. How about that? And then we also got Mr. 300 as the 4th seed at 8-2. The 5 seed currently is Detroit Bad Boys at 7-3. Primetime Players has the 6th seed. And yeah, so that's how that's kind of shaping up right now. And then we got some teams still in the hunt. Hunter of Champions in the 7th spot. Abusement Park in the 8th. Burroughs Body Count in the 9th. And Jiu-Jitsu Jesus in the 10th spot. And then we have 2 teams, 2 sad, very lonely teams, sitting there who are no longer eligible to make the playoffs. The only 2, Mufasa Moneymakers and New Orleans Voodoo. Also, I didn't know this until we recorded the first time. I found out literally on the show. Mufali broke the record actually last week for the longest active losing streak in league history, which was 11. He's officially lost 12 straight weeks. It is very sad to see a team who we all thought was going to dominate this year do that poorly. I think it just goes to show you can only put so much stock in the offseason, right? I mean, you can do everything right between the months of March all the way through August, and it not matter sometimes. I mean, that's fantasy football. That's sports in general. It doesn't even matter if it's real football or fantasy. You know, stuff happens. Injuries happen. Guys underperform. You know, you overanalyze a player and it didn't pan out. How do you rebound from that, though? Are you able to turn around for this season, or do you have to really start planning for next year? Mufali did that second approach and went all in for 2022 and 2023. And as a result, obviously, he was ruled out last week. But now New Orleans Voodoo is a team who hasn't really been tanking in the sense of like preparing for future seasons, but also hasn't been super active as well. So it's like he's tanking, but not in a good way of tanking, if that makes any sense. Yeah, I don't know. But anyways, long story short, they're both eliminated. The only 2 teams officially eliminated from the race. So let's jump to Conference B now. Conference B is interesting in its own way in the sense that the wild card race isn't as tight as Conference B is. Even Jiu-Jitsu Jesus, who's sitting at 3-7, could theoretically make the wild card. As crazy as that is, he needs to win out. He's got to have a lot of help, but he could technically get in as a 6th seed at this moment in time. We'll see how that goes. He cannot win the division, which means he has to win out and have primetime players lose the rest of their games just to get in there, along with Hunter and along with Abusement Park and Burroughs Body Count. I think he can actually afford one of those guys to win maybe one game. But yeah, anyways, that's the situation Jiu-Jitsu Jesus is in. He's probably the most likely to be eliminated at the end of this week, just because all it takes is for primetime players to win this week, and it's over. That's all she wrote for Jiu-Jitsu Jesus if that happens. So anyways, let's get on to Conference B. And one thing I forgot to mention too, the third leg clinches a playoff spot and everything, the whole shebang, if they win one more game. That's it. That's all it's going to take. So that's pretty big. Again, congrats to Charles in the rebuild. It's taken several years to get here, but he has done it. I think it's pretty safe to say. Conference B, I currently got the first seed again. Barring a stat change, I'm crossing my fingers. I'm going to say a prayer tonight that things stay the way they are, but I know in all reality that the stat changes in our league happen all the time, in every league, really. Whether or not your other league actually makes the scoring changes as a result is a different story. Ours does. We value the correct actual stat line versus what someone got wrong the following Sunday. So I'm currently 9-1 and leading the East Division by a couple games. The Spurs are the 2 seed, who's 8-2. The 3 seed is Libertad Lobos, who is 3-7, has more than he has twice as many losses as he does wins. Once a Janitor with a 4 seed at 7-3. And Afternoon Delights at 6-4 has the 5th seed, and Steel Curtain at the 6th seed is 6-4. And the teams that are still in the hunt who have not been eliminated, Step Bros Fantasy Company is the top of the list of 4-6. He cannot win the division anymore. He has to get in as a wildcard team, but he trails that race by 2 games. He's going to need some help, but he's also got to get it together and win out to get that. Slapdicks, the 8th spot, actually, believe it or not, has a better chance compared to some of these other teams, at least the wildcard spot, at 3-7. Eastside Brawlers at 3-7, technically still in this for the wildcard spot. Bring Rexy back at 3-7, technically in this, but more so for the divisional race because they're tied with Libertad Lobos, which means a win this week and a Lobo loss puts them at first place. As crazy as that sounds. Gimme More is 2-8 and is still in this race in the Western Division for Conference B. The Wild Wild West, as I'm calling it, or the West. That was a sad joke. No one laughed. I'm sure I'm no one that laughed at that. And then I'm jumping ahead. Then the last team on this list in terms of the season and today where they would end up is 2 Girls 1 Cup. They're still in this at 2-8 again because they're in the Conference B Western Division. They've got a legitimate shot at this. They're only down a game with a stat change. They are playing me. For those who don't know. They could win. They could actually be at 3-7, tied with Lobos. Lobos would still have the tiebreaker because he beat him. But that would put him in a game for this week to really go up over Lobos instead of just tying him. So there's a lot of the line for a lot of these matchups, and we're going to dive into that here in a little bit. By the way, I do clinch a playoff berth, or I have, barring the stat change. So we'll see how that goes. Otherwise, I've officially locked up at least a top 6 seed. So I'm definitely in. Whether or not I win my division is a different story. We've got some other big games too in Conference B that we will get into. So let's get to it, guys. We've got our game of the week in the LCC. So let's go ahead and hear it. Everyone's been waiting for this. Or for some people, maybe they weren't waiting for this. But I'm excited nonetheless. This is going to be a classic. Mad 96. Never fails. So, yeah, game of the week, guys, is going to be interesting because it's Libertad Lobos versus 2 Girls 1 Cup. The kids of America voted, and they decided that this should be game of the week. And I don't blame them, honestly. The 2 teams we haven't really talked about much this year. Probably the 2 most active teams on Twitter. Honestly, after today, I think 2 Girls 1 Cup might be the most popular team in the league outside of people who follow who aren't in our league at the moment. So everyone likes a comeback story. I feel like that is just embedded in American culture. We all pull for the team that's kind of the underdog, that is a long shot. It just mixes things up. This is it. This is your storyline of this game. These are 2 teams at currently no one is given a shot. Even if they get to the playoffs, no one is giving these guys a shot. If you talk to anyone, they're talking about Beg for G-Reg, Detroit Bad Boys. They're talking about Afternoon Delight, Steel Curtain, maybe the Spurs. But, I mean, with the injuries, we'll have to see how they hold up. No one is talking about, man, I'm worried about playing 2 Girls 1 Cup or Libertad Lobos. And that's a shame because I'm actually worried about playing these guys. Maybe it's because of just me being me, but I really see some value in 2 Girls 1 Cup's team. I feel like they've almost peaked here in the latter part of the season, and that is the best time to peak. if you're going to peak at all, it should be in this part. We've seen teams come into the LCC and win championships who weren't that pretty in the regular season. Maybe they get in at 500 or just over 500. Maybe they get in just under 500. And they're a legitimate threat. You know why? Because they were more active on the waiver wire. They were trading at the last second. They were reading different injury reports every single week, whereas some teams who are in, locked up a playoff spot or, maybe haven't mathematically locked it up, but kind of in their head they feel like they've locked it up, they're not as active. And maybe it's not because they're lazy. It's just because their roster is so deep that it doesn't make sense for them to drop a guy and go get this running back, Whereas if you're this team that you're just trying to come up with a win somehow and you don't have the best running back core, why not? Why not take a splash at a running back that no one else would look at? Because who cares, man? Your season's on the line. Like, this is it. No one believes in you anyways. Do something that's going to shake it up. You've got nothing to lose because, again, no one believes in you. And I think that's what excites me about this matchup. Let me pull up the fun facts of this game. I didn't load up the graphic for the show, so I'm just going to have to read it off for you guys. The Lobos currently leads the series 1-0. The last time both teams played was Week 4, 2021, and the Lobos won 230 to 151 in a smackdown. That was a different Lobos team. This is a different Two Girls, One Cup team. I will say that. Two Girls, One Cup will officially be eliminated from the playoff and divisional race with a loss this week, but a win puts them in a three-way tie for the third seed. That's right. We're talking about a team that if they lose, they're done. Their season is literally over. If they win, they're right there like a top 3 seed. That is crazy. That is absolutely nuts. And that's why I'm worried. That's why I'm worried. Because a team that has nothing to lose going to the playoffs, like, that's the last team you want to be faced against. The only way either team can make the playoffs at this point is by winning their division. And I think the reason for the Lobos, I'm going to double check after the show, but I think that the reason behind that is because they've lost to both the current projected 5th and 6th seed, who have 6 wins. So I think that's the reason behind that, because all they can do is tie them at the end of the year in overall record. And if they did, they would still lose in the tiebreaker because they've lost them. Again, I did this research this morning when I woke up, so, Alex, if I'm wrong, definitely correct me. Feel free. But I think at this point, the only way you're getting in is to win your division. And it's definitely that way for Two Girls and One Cup. And then the last fun fact of the week here, no team has ever made the playoffs with 3 to 4 wins. The worst record to ever get in was 5-7. All right. I mean, even at 6-6 at 500, it was still kind of a long shot in some ways. We've seen plenty of teams go 500 in this league and miss the playoffs. Now, we just expanded our regular season from 12 weeks to 13 weeks. So going 500 isn't an option. You're either under or you're over. And for these teams, they're going to be under. I mean, you can't get around the fact they're going to be under 500. This doesn't happen frequently in the LCC. We've had some bad divisions. And I don't think this is necessarily a bad division because these owners did anything wrong, per se. I think for the most part, I mean, we're talking about a division where half the teams in it had a rookie GM that inherited a garbage franchise, a generation of garbage, meaning that literally the team had multiple GMs who did nothing, who were terrible. And honestly, part of that falls back on me as a commissioner in that I allowed those people to stay in the league as long as they did, but they're gone. They will not be coming back. So that is that. But yeah, that's the fun facts. So let's move on to the rosters. I made these graphics earlier in the day before the waiver wires process, so forgive me if I'm missing anything here. But we're going to go with the Lobos, and at the time, I didn't know who the quarterback was. I asked Alex at that time too. He couldn't even tell me. I guess he had multiple waiver wire picks in, and he was kind of unsure of which way he may even go. at quarterback. But I can confirm now by pulling up the info here on our website from the matchup between Libertad Lobos and Two Girls One Cup that the Lobos have Jimmy G at quarterback, but they do have Big Ben on their COVID reserve, and then of course they've got their other quarterback who's on bye week, Matt Stafford. So Jimmy G was a guy highly valued in our leagues. Waiver wire pull from other people I've talked to who had quarterbacks in a bye or a guy hurt. I know at least Eastside Brawlers was definitely targeting Jimmy G. So Alex was either ahead of him on the waivers or was a little bit quicker on the draw there. I'm not sure if he got him on ad drop or through our waiver request system. But he's got him. He's got Michael Carter at running back, DJ Moore receiver, Jadeveon Clowney defensive line, CJ Mosley linebacker, Monty Hooker at DB, and Harrison Smith at flex, who's also a defensive back. Now, if we go over here to Two Girls One Cup, who is 2-8. Oh, you know what? Oh man, I got to go back and do my sound drop. I totally missed it for the Libertad Lobos. Sorry about that. Here we go. All right. Yeah, and I still... All right. Eddie, if you're listening right now, I cannot figure out what to make your sound drop without getting a virus on my computer. Because of your team name, man. You're going to have to help me think of something creative. But I'm all here for it. So let's move on to Two Girls and One Cup at 2-8. They've got Kirk Cousins at quarterback, Joe Mixon at running back, Emmanuel Sanders at receiver / tight end, Grady Jarrett at defensive line, Jordan Hicks at linebacker, Micah Hyde at defensive back, and Eric Harris in the flex is also a DB. Now Grady Jarrett and Harris are playing Thursday night. I'm never a big fan of Thursday night games, IDP or non-IDP. That just worries me. In fact, I don't even like the NFL model for Thursday night football. I think it's greedy. From their side, I mean, honestly, players are kind of putting their health on the line by turning around and playing a game that early on, full contact. I think that's reckless. I think it harms the game. I think it hurts fantasy football. I hate it. That's my TED Talk on Thursday night football. I'm cool with it on Thanksgiving week. I'm cool with it maybe in the later part of the season, but it's not need to be an every week thing. I think it's ridiculous. And the quality of play is garbage as well. So that is that for Thursday night. But I think there's a lot of similarities in these teams' starting lineups. I think that for Grady Jarrett going against New England, I'm not sure how that's going to pan out. But on the flip side, I think Chandler Jones, everyone's preaching against Chandler Jones and not to start him. And I know Eddie's probably just looking for the slightest excuse to put him in his lineup, but they're playing Seattle. And hear me out, they have been garbage this year. Russell Wilson is running for his life at times. Pete Carroll said they're going to try to run the ball more, but I'll believe it when I see it. They haven't had a legitimate running game, I feel like, in years, which means Chandler Jones, you could have a legitimate game. I don't know. Grady Jarrett playing against New England, short week, had 19 against Dallas, which has a solid offensive line. New England's offensive line is pretty decent too, though. I don't know. I'm saying that from a Panther fan perspective, so take that with a grain of salt. And then on the flip side, you got Jadeveon Clowney. First of all, questionable. Not 100% guaranteed this week, but going against Detroit, and I think that's a solid matchup. But the issue with Jadeveon is he's only had 2 weeks where he scored, 18 or more points, and that was last time was week 6 against Arizona. And you're thinking, Arizona had a good, a great offense, so he performed there. Well, why not against Detroit, who has a bad defense? I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. The other option here is Everson Griffin. I don't think that's any better. If anything, that's probably worse going against Green Bay. So I don't know if I can buy into the Everson Griffin start there because of that. So, yeah, I'm just going to leave that. Probably just stick with Jadeveon if you got to go between the two, assuming he's healthy. And then a linebacker, I freaking love Jordan Hicks this week for 2 girls, 1 cup against Seattle. Who knows? Maybe Pete Carroll is what he's saying the truth. They're going to pound the rock. Well, that's great for Jordan Hicks. In fact, that's great for the entire Arizona linebacker core. So I do like that matchup. I'm not too crazy about C.J. Mosley's matchup against Miami. With that said, I think that's probably the best start you can put because Miles Jack is questionable for Alex's team, and we haven't seen Miles Jack put up over 30 points since week 3. It's been forever. And funny enough, that was against Arizona. I don't know what's up with these Arizona's offense giving up good IDP points, but yeah, I think part of this though is going to come down to running back play. I think it's going to come down to receiver play too. DJ Moore has been lights out this year, or at least for the first half of the year. He hasn't done much recently, and with with Carolina rotating quarterbacks, I don't know what kind of consistent passing game we're going to see. Now, from a Panther fan perspective, I'm super excited about this week. I think this is a very winnable game for Carolina. And Washington's defense is banged up. But how well does Carolina get the passing game going? I really think they're going to still rely on their run game a lot. I think we're going to see Cam Newton running more still. I don't think we're going to see him throwing the ball a lot. I know Daquan's got him in the starting lineup, which all of that adds up to me saying I'm not super high on DJ Moore this week. But he doesn't have another option because Van Jefferson's in a bye. So I think you just got to roll with what you got there if you're the Lobos with DJ. So I guess everyone's probably wondering now, who am I picking this week? And with all that said, I think it's going to be a very, very close game. But I've got to go, and I made my pick in the previous episode, so I'm doing it again. And in the previous episode, I said the same thing. Like, this game is literally going to come down to the Thursday night games and how this shapes up. I think that's going to tell us most of what we need to know. And because of that, I've got to go Lobos here. I hate to say it, Freddie, and 2 girls, 1 cup, but I've got to go Lobos because I'm just, again, the Thursday night thing scares me. It really does. And I think that might be the difference maker. I think Lobos moves on to 4-7. And 2 girls, 1 cup falls to 2-9. So that's my week 11 game, the week summary. I'm going to very quickly run through these other matchups now in much less detail than we normally do, just because it's just me. I can only talk for so long. I'm already out of breath as it is right now. It's just trying to get through this. So let's move on to our other matchups from around the league in the LCC. And I was trying to see if I had a sound drop. So I'm just going to go with this.
Oh my God! Okay, it's happening. Everybody stay calm. What's the procedure, everyone? What's the procedure?
Yep. Stay calm, everyone, because we're doing this. All right, we're starting with third leg versus Jiu-Jitsu Jesus, a divisional matchup, a divisional clash here in Conference A Eastern Division. 2 teams who have had polar opposite years. Matt's team has been up and down, although they came with a win last week. Third leg has been playing great all year long, honestly. 1 loss the entire season. And when I compared both lineups, I was like, Matt's got J.D. McKissick going against Carolina. That is a hell no. I cannot go with that. If he's in your lineup, man, I just can't buy into that. Carolina's defense is legit. You know that, Matt, as a Panther fan. Zeke going against the Chiefs, I think he'll have a good game. I think that you're going to see, Eric Kendricks go off against Green Bay, and I think you're going to see the Honey Badger do the same against Dallas. So I'm going to go the third leg in here. This one's pretty easy for me. I think he gets him by a good 30 to 40 points, actually. All right. We're going to keep it rolling down. I wasn't going to tell you guys the history between these 2 teams, but I've noticed, and if anyone's listening right now and you've had the same experience, the league history page has been super slow this week, like way slower than usual. Oh, it just pulled up. Here we go. So let's go check out the history between those two teams before I move on. I know they've played each other. They've been in the league for a very long time. So week 11. All right. So third leg and Jiu-Jitsu Jesus have played each other 6 times. It is split dead even. The last time they played week 4, third leg won 184 to 141. But before that, the third leg had not won since week 5, 2019. So this history goes way back. Never played each other in the postseason. They're not going to play each other this year in the postseason more than likely unless Matt can make a comeback. But yeah, that's the history between those two teams. Let's move on to our next matchup here, which you should see on your screen. Prime time players versus Mr. 300, a long-standing LCC rivalry. This one dates back to year 1, 2010. Honestly, in terms of like them being in the league, they didn't play each other until 2011. Funny enough, and they didn't play each other again until 2015. After that, but currently they've played each other 9 times, and Mr. 300 leads series 5-4. Primetime Players has won the last 2 times though. Mr. 300 has not won since week 3, 2020. Yeah, I don't know. This is a big game, and I wanted to say that this game was going to be very competitive, very close. But currently, Daquan's got Cam Newton in the starting lineup. And I'm a Panther fan. I'm a Cam Newton fan. I'll say that. But I just don't know. I know they're saying Cam might start. Cam might start. And sure, Cam might start. Honestly, he probably will start. But do we see Cam play the entire game? Selfishly, I hope they play him the whole game. Realistically, though, and deep down, I do not want them to play Cam the whole game because I don't think Cam is fully ready to play an entire game. I'm not talking about like physically fit. I'm talking about the timing of the throws. I'm talking about learning the playbook. Man, an NFL playbook is no joke. None of us have seen that level of complexity before. As of course, no one in this league has been in the NFL. If you had been, you probably wouldn't be in this fantasy league, let's face it. But yeah, I don't know, man. The Cam quarterback situation, I think he won last week with Cam. He's projected 28 points. That would be actually really good. If he got 28 points, that'd be solid. But on the flip side, come on, Mr. 300's got Dak Prescott at quarterback. Jonathan Taylor. I get the names mixed up, but Jonathan Taylor has been on a tear this season. Projected 29. I think it could be lower. Buffalo's defense is pretty solid, so we'll see. They're playing in Buffalo too. I don't know the weather for that game. That could, if it's crappy weather, they're probably going to run the ball a lot, which means Jonathan Taylor will rack up points. Needless to say, though, I'm going Mr. 300 currently with a 99% win probability. That does not sound safe. Maybe I shouldn't pick Mr. 300 because of that, but I've got to. I'm sticking with my gut. That's where I'm going. Next matchup here, we have got, if my screen will load, there we go. Mufasa Moneymakers versus New Orleans Voodoo. The garbage bowl, the toilet bowl, the irrelevant bowl, whatever you want to call this. These two teams are duking it out for bragging rights. Currently, I mean, Mafali can only beat his own record, right? He can only beat himself in the losing streak record, at least for multiple seasons. He has not broken the record for single season losing streak, which is 11 straight. Obviously, we haven't played 11 weeks at the time of recording this podcast, so all I can do is tie it this week. I'm sure he doesn't want to do that. With that said, I've already broken this down in my head. I'm actually going Mufasa Moneymakers here. Some people might see that as a shock. Some people may not. I haven't listened to other podcasts yet to see what they had to say about this matchup. But my fantasy league is also agreeing with me. They're giving him an 85% win probability. And I know Mafali's worried about Trevor Lawrence, as he should be. I mean, he's been a disappointment to say the least this year. I know some Clemson fans, some Trevor truthers might say otherwise. He has definitely not lived up to expectations. And Trevor Siemian, Mafali made this point on the off the show earlier tonight, could actually outperform Trevor Lawrence, sorry, because Trevor Siemian has better weapons, in New Orleans. And if he gets Alvin Kamara, which I hope that he does because he's my team, that's going to help him a lot. But even with that said, I'm going to go Mufasa Moneymakers here. I think they get their first win of the year. So let's keep it rolling now. We're going to 100 Champions versus Hassling Slashers. And don't you think for a minute that I forgot about that sound drop. I just had to do the slow-mo version of it. I'm sorry. If you don't like it, deal with it. But no, these guys, I don't know if they've played each other. Let me see if I can pull up the history here. They have. They've played each other 3 times. Currently, Hassling Slashers leads the series 2-1. Last time they played, week 4 this year, Hunter won 208 to 206. Very close game. I don't know if it was off a stat change or what happened, but needless to say, Hunter won, so that's all that matters. With this game, I actually am picking Hunter to win this, and I do think it's going to be close. Currently, it's projected to be 204 to 186. Whenever a team is projected 200 points in this league, that's a big deal. Most projections are going to come out under 200. So for them to pretty much guarantee at least a 200-point game from 100 Champions, you best bet there's a good chance it's going to happen. And Pat Mahomes playing Dallas, I think he's going to have a good game for the Chiefs to win. Najee Harris is going to ball out like usual. Devontae Adams will do his thing. Shaq Barrett is going to eat up New York. David Long against Houston. I'm not super big on that matchup, but for some reason my fantasy league is like projecting 34 points. I think it's going to be upper 20s. Isaiah Simmons, and we talked about this earlier, Seattle running the ball more, potentially. That pays out well for Arizona linebackers. But then Hassling Slashers, I think the big difference here is I think the linebacker situation and the linebacker matchups pan out better for Hunter of Champions, which is how they win this game. I'm not crazy about the Fred Warner matchup against Jacksonville. I'm not crazy about the Jeremiah Wasu matchup against Detroit. I don't know. I think that's really going to hurt Hassling Slashers' chances of winning, so I would go Hunter of Champions here. All right. Our next matchup, God, I'm killing myself. I'm running out of breath. Detroit Bad Boys versus Beg for G-Rag. And I think a lot of people wanted this matchup to be game of the week because they deserve it. I mean, if you look at, the win-loss column, this is the best matchup. You cannot argue against that. And it's a shame we didn't see it win it because they deserved it. I won't deny it. But I think for the people who voted for Two Girls, One Cup versus the Lobatar Lobos matchup, I think they wanted something different. I feel like we've seen a lot of the same teams in Game of the Week, and again, it's embedded within American culture to pull for the underdog, and so I think this matchup is going to tell you who is the biggest underdog of that division. So I'm not totally shocked that won Game of the Week. But anyways, let's get into this one. Currently, this is kind of shocking. I'm trying to decipher why my fantasy league is saying this. They're giving a 94% win probability for Beg for G-Rag. And I'm guessing it's because of A.J. Dillon. I don't know, though. That still doesn't add up to me. Maybe, or I guess DK Metcalf. Yeah, I mean, he's banged up. And with the, or not banged up, but he's, he just got kicked out of that game. You got to kind of wonder with the culture of that organization with him, like how that's going to transpire over the course of the season. But I don't know. He does have some buys. OBJ, Ernest Jones. I just think that when you look at Billy Ray's team, the Billy Bowl, I forgot to mention that this is the Billy Bowl. I like Christian McCaffrey, man, every week. Yeah, these are only projected 27 points. You got to be high to think he's only getting 27 points with a banged-up Washington defense. And he's going against the flex for Beg for G-Rag is Logan Ryan. And I think Logan Ryan could have a good game. I think he probably will have a good game. He's going to have a good game because they're playing Tampa Bay, and Tampa Bay's offense should light it up on Monday Night Football. But I don't know. Dalvin Cook, Josh Allen, like there's some big names here. And I think a lot of people, and rightfully so, are probably going to pick back for G-Rec and go with that win probability 94%. Me personally, I think Christian McCaffrey is going to have another big game. I think it's going to be at least 40. I think it's a good chance it could be like 50. I mean, that's not outside the realm of possibility. Carolina, I don't think is going to pass the ball a whole lot, which means Christian's going to be well embedded in this offense. Even with them subbing him out, he's going to have a good game. You just can't deny it. So I'm going with Detroit Bad Boys in a big upset, which would, I think, put them back in first place in this division, temporarily at least. So there you go. That is my pick. I feel like that kind of deserves a crown 'em sound drop, honestly. Let's do it.
If you want to crown them, then crown their. If you want to crown them, then crown.
Oh yeah, I love it when it loops for like the third time. All right. Yeah. So let's move on to our next matchup here. We're going across the way to Burroughs Body Count versus Abusement Park. Both teams still in the playoff race at least. Peyton at one point, I've mentioned this before, was possibly contemplating about tanking, but didn't, stuck with it, and I'm proud of him for doing that because he's still in this. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again, regular season does not matter once wildcard weekend starts. It goes out the window. It doesn't matter your accolades. It doesn't matter if you led the league in scoring weeks 1 through whatever. Once playoffs start, it doesn't matter if the fantasy league you're in either. It is a different ball game, my friend. So, yeah, good for you sticking that out, Peyton. I think it could pay out well for you. Burroughs Body Count and Abusement Park have a history. They've played each other twice. Abusement Park currently has swept them in those two matchups. And I forgot to mention this earlier about the previous matchup, but Detroit Bad Boys does lead the Billy Bowl series 3-2. Last time they played week 4, Detroit Bad Boys won. Neither team has ever swept the other, and no one's won in consecutive matchups either. So anyways, going back to this game, Burroughs Body Count versus Abusement Park, a divisional rivalry game, a rivalry among friends, I guess you could say. Both on the same podcast, both have multiple podcasts together. So this rivalry runs deep, to say the least. I think they're kind of banged up in some areas too. I'm looking at it. It looks like currently Abusement Park is projected to win 190 to 176 with a win probability of 64%. I guess the running backs kind of really cross each other out. This is the first time looking at this matchup. Hassan Reddick, I think, could have a good game. I think that Foye against New England, I'm a little worried about that. I'm not super hyped, which means Jayon Brown could easily match those points. Cameron Curl against Carolina, yes, he's going to play good. Whether or not he plays good in the field is a different story, but it's going to rack up tackles. So I like that. And then Anthony Brown against Kansas City, I guess it's possible he gets a pick. With the amount of times Kansas City throws the ball, I mean, it's going to happen eventually at some point. This is a tough one for me to pick. CeeDee Lamb and Jamar Chase, Son Reddick, Jason Owa. You know what? I'm going to go, assuming Kyler Murray plays, assuming he plays. He's questionable. Kyler wants to play from everything, the interviews that I've seen of him this week. If he plays, I'm going to Abusement Park. If he doesn't play, give me Burroughs Body Count and upset. All right, so we're moving to Conference B finally. We got the Eastside Brawlers versus Step Bros Fantasy Company in a divisional rivalry game. Eastside Brawlers has had another letdown season. They're 3-7. They cannot go 500 or above 500, but believe it or not, they can still make the playoffs as a wild card team. And they're currently projected to win with a win probability of 63%, and they're projected a whopping 172 to 158. Carson Wentz in the lineup against Buffalo. I'm not super big on that, but Buffalo's offense is also good. If they take a big enough lead, Wentz is going to have to throw the ball, and make something happen so he can rack up points there. Miles Gaskin, my dad said it. I mean, pretty much he can guarantee you 15 points, but above that, good luck. Mike Davis, I feel like the same way though, especially against a good New England defense. For this matchup, I may end up having to go Eastside Brawlers to get his 4th win. It wouldn't be an upset. It'd be an upset from a record standpoint. From my fantasy league standpoint of who they're picking, this would not be an upset. So take that for what you want. I'm going Eastside Brawlers. Next matchup here, we've got Steel Curtain versus Once a Janitor. Steel Curtain has been on a roll here lately. I have one of those teams on my short list of teams that I'm worried about playing. This is one of them. Currently projected to win this game. Win probability is 78%. Projected score 209 to 182. That is big. I'm going to have to agree, honestly, with them here. I'm going to go Steel Curtain. Austin Eckler has been pretty solid. I think Mike Evans is going to have a good game Monday night. I think you're going to see Aaron Rodgers put on a show, assuming he's able to play. If he doesn't play, that does change the game, and then I think that honestly puts the favor in Once Janitor's hands. But give me Steel Curtain here. I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be a lot closer than the website's projecting. That's kind of crazy. They're projecting a blowout like that. But I'm going to pick Steel Curtain by 10. I think it's going to be that close. Slapdicks versus Spurs. I don't know. Is there much to break down here? Austin's given up on this team for this season at least. Cameron is still trying to, ride the wave and get in the playoffs and make some magic happen once he's there. Alex Collins is questionable. Projected 16 points. I don't think any of that matters, though. I mean, Javonte Williams is in a bye for Slapdicks. Same with Cortland Sutton. And I don't know, man. And he hasn't been playing the right IDP players in recent weeks, too. So, I don't know. I don't think it matters, honestly. Give me the Spurs. I think this should be an easy win for Cam, even though, he hasn't been scoring the points he needs to score here lately, at least last week. The Spurs and Slapdicks do have a history between each other, if I can pull it up. They've played each other 6 times. The Spurs leads the series 5-1. Last time Slapdicks won week 2, 2020. They played each other a year ago to the day, and Slapdicks, the Spurs won 219 to 177 in a beatdown. So we're going to keep moving here for my voice's sake before I totally lose my voice before I go on this trip tomorrow. Give me more versus bringing Rexy back. I honestly think CJ's team might be cursed because he's got Rex Grossman as his logo. Nothing good comes with that. Both are on a 2-game losing streak. Jameson is tickled to death that he is still in this race. I talk to him all the time, and he's like, what is going on in the LCC? I should not still be in this playoff race, but he is. And he's not even trying to lose. It's like he obviously kind of tanked, but he's still setting his lineup. He's actually still adding and dropping, so he's doing what he can with the team he has left after he dismantled it. But last time they played week 4, bringing Rexy back, won, and Jameson, I think, was still trying at the time, won 190 to 178. This, man, why am I talking about this game for most people? Because I know most people don't care, but I'm still interested in it because, again, we're talking about an underdog division. We're talking about a team that's getting in under 500. Doesn't happen frequently, and when it does, it can be scary if you're the team playing against them because no one wants to lose that team. It's the lowest projected score of any matchup this week. Giving Moore's projected 158. Rexy's projected 137 with a win probability going in Jameson's way of 69%. Ooh, 69. I'm looking at the matchups right now. James Robinson versus Elijah Mitchell. Renfro versus Darren Waller. That's funny. Two Las Vegas guys going head to head. You know what? Bring a Rexy back. I'm interested. Man, Bobby is balling out for the Colts at linebacker. He's been solid. Sean Chandler. Man, I really am losing my voice. I need some water. I was trying to pull up his stats from most recently, but my computer is dying as quickly as I am right now, so I can't pull that up. Yeah, give me bring a Rexy back. He's got Mike White and quarterback. He may change it. I'm not sure. But yeah, give me. I'm going Rexy with the upset from my fantasy league perspective in the win column. This would not be an upset though. And then for my last game, it's for my own matchup. So if you're listening to this point, you really love the league, or you're Jordan. But Roebuck Leprechauns, myself versus Afternoon Delights. This is a commissioner battle. Jordan and I formed this league in civics class back when we were in high school. In 2009, I want to say, like fall of 2009. The league didn't start till the following year, but we had already talked about it. What we found, we became friends that fall, and we started talking about forming a fantasy league together between guys he knew and I knew. And here we are. So we have a pretty long history of playing each other, by the way, of course. But we've played each other a grand total of 12 times since 2010. I currently lead the series 8-4. Last time Jordan won was week 12, 2020, almost a year ago. But I beat him most recently week 4 this year, 241 to 216. Then I beat him in the playoffs last year in the divisional round, 221 to 205. So, I don't like picking myself. And honestly, I won't pick myself if Nick Chubb plays and Alvin Kamara doesn't, because it's a double whammy, because I lose my starting running back, but then I lose my backup running back too, which just so happens to be Dearness Johnson. This is going to be a really good game, and I felt like selfishly this should have been game of the week, because with the stat change, my lead goes from 3 games to 2 games, and if I lose this game, we're literally talking about like a 1 game difference between us with 2 weeks to go. So it's wide open at that point. I've got to go, honestly, I've definitely got to go Jordan. I think Devontae Campbell does his same thing, but maybe even better against the Vikings this week. Brian Burns against Washington, yes please. I think Nick Chubb, if he's healthy, does well against Detroit. Or if it's Dearness Johnson, great for me. Justin Herbert's going to do his thing, just like Jalen Hurts is going to do his thing. Alvin Kamara, if he plays, I think we'll have a good game, but that's an if with his knee. I'm hoping it's not, it's something he can work out this week. But honestly, I said this to Jordan yesterday. If I have to go without Kamara the rest of the regular season, fantasy regular season, I'm okay with that as long as I get used in the playoffs. So, yeah, I would have to go Jordan in this. I think it's going to be close, but I think he wins because it very rarely does either of us sweep the other one when we play each other multiple times in a season. Well, guys, that is it. That is all I've got. That's all I'm willing to give. At this point, I'm tired. I got to wake up in a few hours, get in a flight to fly to a whole nother hemisphere. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening if you're not in the league. Thanks for listening if you're in the league. We do this podcast for fun. We hope everyone gets whatever they can out of it. If anyone ever wants to be a guest on the show, please do so. Only thing I ask is that you have internet and you have at least a quiet place in your house, apartment, dorm room, whatever, to record. Makes the audio quality a little bit easier that way, or a little bit better, I mean. But yeah, I will catch you guys week 12, maybe not. I'm not sure if I even do record. The logistics behind that is, again, I'm going to be in a whole other continent. So yeah, best of luck to everyone besides Jordan. But I will see you guys next week. in our second to last week of the regular season.